inherited a fortune worth $350 million. He created one of the most famous sports franchises on the planet, and in 1985, his name showed up in a bankruptcy filing that shocked the entire country. 2 years later, he was gone, and he never got to see what he built become worth billions more. This is the story of the man who created the Dallas Cowboys and lost everything. His name was Clint Murchison Jr. And to understand how he lost a fortune, you first need to understand the man who built it. His father, Clint Murchison Sr., was one of the sharpest oil men Texas had ever seen. Calculated, disciplined, ruthless when he needed to be. He built an empire from nothing, in a state being remade by oil money. But his son was going to be different. Not smarter, not more careful, different in a way that decades later would cost him everything. And it wasn't just his own decisions that would come back to haunt him. Somewhere down the road, the people closest to him, his own family, would play a part in this story too. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how a fortune this size can disappear and why the son of one of the most careful men in America became one of the most reckless. Texas, early 1900s. This is a land being remade by oil. Fortunes are made overnight and lost just as fast. In the middle of it all is Clint Murchison Sr., a man who understands something most men in the oil business don't: patience. While others chase every well, he waits. He calculates. He buys when others panic and sells when others get greedy. By the time he's done, he's built one of the largest independent oil empires in American history. Pipelines, insurance companies, real estate, a fortune that makes him one of the wealthiest men in the country. He has a son, Clint Jr., and from the very beginning, this boy grows up in a world his father never had. Private schools, servants, more money than most Americans will ever see in 10 lifetimes. But there's something his father never quite manages to teach him: discipline. The senior Murchison built his fortune on caution and control. His son is drawn to something else entirely: risk, excitement, the thrill of the deal, not the safety of it. Friends of the family will later say they saw it even then, a restlessness in the boy that money could never satisfy. Nobody worried about it. Why would they? There was more money than anyone could ever spend. In 1969, Clint Murchison Sr. dies. And in a single moment, everything, the pipelines, the real estate, the insurance companies, the entire empire, passes into the hands of a son who was never quite like his father. What happens next? Nobody sees coming. He has the word reckless, not yet. Because when you have this much money, the difference between brilliant and reckless can take years to show itself. But here's what almost nobody in that room understands. This isn't strategy. This is a man chasing a feeling. The thrill of saying yes matters more to him than whether the deal makes sense. For now, the oil money is still flowing. The empire his father built is massive enough to absorb every mistake. And in 1960, Clint Murchison Jr. is about to make a decision that will make him a legend, years before anyone realizes it's also the beginning of the end. 1960. The National Football League is expanding, and Dallas wants a team. Most people see a business opportunity. Maybe, if things go well, a modest investment. Clint Murchison Jr. sees something else entirely. A chance to build something that will outlast the oil, outlast the real estate, outlast even his own name. He puts up the money. The Dallas Cowboys are born. Nobody, including Murchison himself, has any idea what this team is about to become. The early years are rough. Losing seasons, empty seats, sports writers calling them a disappointment. But Murchison doesn't panic. If there's one thing he inherited from his father, it's this: he knows how to wait for something to become valuable. And slowly, it happens. The Cowboys start winning. Fans start filling the stadium. By the late 1960s, this isn't just a football team anymore. It's becoming a symbol. People start calling them America's team. Murchison's name is suddenly everywhere. Not as an oil man, not as a businessman, but as the man who built something an entire nation is falling in love with. For the first time in his life, Clint Murchison Jr. isn't just his father's son. He's a legend in his own right. Picture the stadium on a Sunday afternoon in 1971. 65,000 people on their feet, screaming. Murchison in his private box, watching the team he built become exactly what he always wanted it to be. Undeniable. This is the version of Clint Murchison Jr. the world remembers. The bold visionary, the man with the golden touch. But while the cameras are pointed at the field, almost nobody is watching what's happening behind it. Because the same instinct that made him buy a football team on a hunch is about to make decisions far more dangerous. And this time, there won't be a championship at the end of it. 1972. While the Cowboys are winning on the field, Clint Murchison Jr. is making a different kind of bet. One that will never show up on a scoreboard. He starts pouring money into speculative real estate, land in undeveloped areas, resort properties, entire tracts of Texas he believes will be worth a fortune someday. On paper, it looks brilliant. In reality, most of it is borrowed money, loans stacked on top of loans, secured against assets that only have value if the market keeps climbing forever. One deal alone puts him tens of millions of dollars into debt for a resort development that years later will barely be worth a fraction of what he paid. His accountants see it, a few of them try to warn him. But Murchison has heard warnings his whole life, and he's ignored every single one of them, and every single time, it's worked out. So this time felt no different. Here's the problem. Oil money and football glory can hide a lot of bad decisions. As long as the checks keep clearing, nobody outside his inner circle has any idea how much he actually owes. By the mid-1970s, Clint Murchison Jr. isn't just wealthy anymore, he's wealthy and in debt at the exact same time. Two things that for now can coexist. Two things that are about to become impossible to hold together at once. Because in a few years, the ground underneath his entire fortune, literally the oil and the land, is about to shift. And when it does, there won't be enough championships in the world to save him. 1980s Texas. For decades, oil has made this state feel invincible. Fortunes built on it seem permanent. And then, almost overnight, the price of oil collapses. Banks that once handed out loans like it was nothing suddenly want their money back. Real estate that was supposed to keep climbing forever starts falling instead. Across Texas, empires built on the same formula Clint Murchison Jr. used are collapsing, one after another. And Murchison isn't just exposed to one of these problems. He's exposed to all of them at the same time. The resort developments that were already underwater are now worth even less. The loans that were manageable when the economy was booming are suddenly due, in full, with interest, from a man whose income has quietly dried up. For the first time in his life, Clint Murchison Jr. can't spend his way out of a problem. Lawyers start negotiating with creditors, one by one, buying time where they can, but the numbers don't lie. What was once a fortune worth $350 million is now a mountain of debt he has no realistic way of repaying. And there's something else happening at the same time, something even his closest friends don't fully understand yet. His body is starting to fail him. A neurological illness is beginning to take hold, slowly, quietly, at the exact moment his finances are falling apart around him. Two collapses, happening at once, one in his bank accounts, one in his own body. In 1984, with the debt becoming impossible to ignore, Murchison makes a painful decision. He sells the Dallas Cowboys, the team that made him a legend, for $80 million. It's meant to buy him time. It doesn't. By early 1985, 3 separate creditors have run out of patience. They're done waiting, and they're about to do something that will make front-page news across the entire country. February 1985. 3 creditors, a Canadian bank, a corporation, and one of the largest financial institutions in the world, file the paperwork that forces Clint Murchison Jr. into bankruptcy court. The numbers, once they become public, are staggering. His debts, nearly $400 million. His assets, just over $70 million. Lawyers call it one of the largest personal bankruptcy cases in United States history. But here's something almost nobody outside his inner circle knew at the time. This collapse didn't start with the oil crash. It started years earlier, in 1979, when his older brother and business partner John suddenly died. The two of them had built much of this empire together, side by side, for decades, and in the aftermath, a bitter court battle broke out. His own sister-in-law filed suit against him, fighting over what was left of the partnership. To settle it, Murchison was forced to liquidate holdings he never wanted to touch. It was the first crack. Nobody saw it as a warning. Everyone assumed the empire was too big to actually fall, but cracks don't stay hidden forever. By 1985, the man who once walked into rooms and had strangers hand him money on a handshake can no longer make his own signature clearly. The same illness that's been quietly spreading through his body for years has now confined him to a wheelchair. His speech is starting to slur. The press, when they photograph him leaving the courthouse, barely recognize the man in the wheelchair as the same Clint Murchison who once stood in his private box, watching 65,000 fans scream his team's name. The empire is gone, the team is gone, and now, so is his health. There's only one chapter left in this story. March 1987. Clint Murchison Jr. is admitted to Gaston Episcopal Hospital in Dallas. The nerve disease that's been spreading through his body for years has finally taken his ability to walk, and now it's beginning to take his ability to breathe. Pneumonia sets in on top of everything else his body is already fighting. He's 63 years old. 2 years earlier, he stood in a courtroom and watched his entire financial empire get picked apart in front of lawyers and reporters. Now he lies in a hospital bed, his wife Anne by his side. For the first time in decades, there's no deal on the table. No handshake to make. Just a hospital room, growing quiet. On March 30th, 1987, at 10:40 in the evening, Clint Murchison Jr. dies. The headlines the next morning don't call him a genius, and they don't call him reckless either. They call him what he actually was, a man who built an empire and watched it slip through his fingers. At his funeral, held at Shady Grove Church outside Dallas, Tom Landry, the legendary coach who spent decades leading the team Murchison built, stands up to deliver a eulogy. The same man who once celebrated championships with him is now saying goodbye to a friend who died with almost nothing left. And here's the detail that makes this story impossible to forget. In 1984, Murchison sold the Dallas Cowboys for $80 million, desperate for cash, trying to survive what was coming. At the time, it seemed like a fortune. He had no way of knowing what that team would become. Today, the Dallas Cowboys are valued at over $10 billion, one of the most valuable sports franchises on the planet. The man who built it never got to see any of that. He sold his own legacy just to survive a little longer. In the end, even that wasn't enough. In June of 1986, months before his death, U.S. bankruptcy judge Harold Abramson approved a reorganization plan that stripped away nearly everything Clint Murchison Jr. had built. His businesses, his 25-acre estate in North Dallas, all of it. Even after everything was liquidated, he was still left more than $100 million short of what he owed. He was survived by his wife Anne, 3 sons, and a daughter. The empire his father spent a lifetime building, and that he spent a lifetime spending, was, by the time he died, essentially gone. But here's the strange, quiet irony in all of this. The one thing Clint Murchison Jr. built almost by accident, a football team he bought on a hunch back in 1960, is the one thing that outlived every mistake he ever made. Today, it's worth more than his father's entire oil empire ever was, more than every real estate deal, more than every reckless investment combined. Money, it turns out, wasn't the thing that made Clint Murchison Jr.'s name last. A decision he almost made for fun did. His story isn't really about an oil fortune, or a football team, or even a bankruptcy filing. It's about what happens when a family builds something extraordinary, and the next generation has to decide what to do with it. Some protect it, some grow it, and some, like Clint Murchison Jr., chase the thrill of it, until there's nothing left to chase. Somewhere in Dallas today, there's a stadium he built, still packed every single Sunday, still roaring, still exactly what he always wanted it to be. He just isn't there to see it. If you found this story as unbelievable as we did, you're going to want to stick around. Because this isn't the only fortune that vanished. There are heirs who inherited more money than most of us will ever see, and lost every last dollar of it. There are families torn apart by wills, secrets, and betrayals that make this one look simple. If stories like this, real stories of wealth, fate, and everything that happens after the money arrives, are the kind of thing you want to keep